It is 7 o'clock. We will now start the regular town council meeting of June 7th.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here. We have a full night of presentations and proclamations. So I get to start it off with the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship. Evdokia? Is Evdokia here? Maybe I won't start it off. We don't have our Fliss Scholarship recipient. Okay, we're going to skip right to the first, next one.
Oh, is that her now?
Keith, hold up.
Ready, I was ready.
Sorry.
Procedural person, Joe. I gotta wait.
You got to lift a little higher.
We're nothing if not flexible.
CJ's on such a schedule, I was nervous.
Okay, the high school had their scholarship evening, gosh, last week, 2 weeks ago, a little while ago. And we went through all the different scholarships. And in giving that scholarship, a lot of what I said that evening is actually in the proclamation, so I'll read that. I will just make one note. I start off talking about Stephen Fliss, who, as I mentioned, the scholarship night, this entire town campus is named after him. So when you go by the sign, when you're coming up Monteith, you'll see his name on the sign. Also, the funds for this scholarship, which I thought was very impressive, were started by all his vacation and sick days that he did not take over his 30-year career. And rather than taking that at the end of his career, he put it into the scholarship. So, you know, goal for everyone. See if you can work all your life and save money to make a scholarship. That being said, our first resolution. Whereas the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship was established in 1985 and dedicated to Stephen A. Fliss, who served as town manager for the town of Farmington from 1955 to 1985. And whereas the scholarship was established for a Farmington resident seeking a college degree in public administration and/or public service. And whereas Evdokia Maria Kotu of Farmington submitted her application to the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship Committee. And whereas the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship Committee unanimously chose Evdokia Maria Kotu's application and approved a scholarship award of $500. And whereas Evdokia Maria Kotu volunteered for various organizations, including teaching Greek Kalamatino dance to local kindergartners. Did I get that right, Ed?
Kalamatiano.
Thank you. It's always good to have a ringer up here. To kindergartners and hosting team building events for underclassmen at her high school. And whereas after spending a summer working with Syrian refugees, Evdokia Maria Kotu organized the Haitian English Outreach Club called Helping Hands for Haiti at Farmington High School to continue using culture as a means to connect with communities and developing countries. And whereas Evdokia Maria Kotu will be attending Yale University, where she will study economics and anthropology with the goal of becoming a foreign service officer and continuing to serve the public in that capacity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council commends Evdokia Maria Kotu on her scholarship award and hereby encourages her to continue to success with her future studies, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 7th day of June, 2022. C.J. Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council. And we didn't actually have the check on scholarship night, so tonight you actually get the check. And everyone gets a maroon Farmington cap.
have Raven Bartow. If you come on up. Hello, how are you? Good. So your proclamation reads, whereas the Girl Scouts of America help train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Girl Scouts of America which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Girl Scouting is the attainment of the Girl Scout Gold Award, and whereas Raven Bartow from the Girl Scouts of Connecticut Council completed the requirements for the Girl Scout Gold Award, and whereas Raven Bartow's Gold Award project was to build a large bee hotel structure for solitary bees and create a pollinator garden around the hotel, which she calls Airbnb Hotel. Whereas Raven Bartow's hotel is located on the Bushley Farmington Land Trust property across from West District Elementary School, and whereas in addition to creating the structure, Raven taught classes about the bee hotel, and the importance of solitary bees in the world at West District School, Girl Scouts of Farmington, the Community Center, and at Winding Trails. Whereas Raven Bartow's project has been incorporated into the second grade science curriculum at West District School and is being used in ongoing classes with the Farmington Land Trust to teach the public about the importance of solitary bees. And whereas a lot of good stuff here, Raven, sorry. Whereas Raven Bartow graduated from Farmington High School, where she was a member of the swim team, robotics team, and the Latin Club, and GSA, and whereas Raven Bartow has been a Girl Scout for 13 years and is now a lifetime member. She is also a member of St. Mary Star of the Sea, where she was an altar server for 5 years, and whereas as a result of Raven Bartow's work, the importance of solitary bees in our world is being taught in the community of Farmington, and our area will be enriched and enhanced by her Airbnb hotel. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, I hereby extend to Girl Scout Gold Award recipient Raven Bartow, our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim June 8th, 2022 as Raven Bartow Day in Farmington, dated at Farmington, Connecticut. This, the 7th day of June, 2022, C.J. Thomas, Chair.
Now, don't sit down yet. We have our state representative who's going to read the first proclamation, then you can just come back up for the second one. The proclamations are very similar, so he's not going to read it each time, but he's going to present it the first time, and you get your picture with him.
I appreciate the indulgence, Mr. Chair. I would note for the record that our proclamations are considerably shorter than the town council's proclamation. But be that as it may. So congratulations, Raven. So, and from me and from the legislature. So without further ado, State of Connecticut General Assembly official citation introduced by Representative D'Amico, Representative Exum, Senator Slapp, and Senator Lopes. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Raven Grace Bartow in recognition of your attainment of the Gold Award, the highest achievement in Girl Scouting. You can be proud of your extraordinary accomplishment, your leadership, and your perseverance, and the good work that you have done for your community, which will benefit from your dedicated efforts. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. Given this 7th day of June 2022 at the state capitol in Hartford, and it's signed by Martin Looney, President Pro Tem of the State Senate, Matt Ritter, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Denise Merrill, Secretary of the State. Congratulations, Raven.
Okay, now, Brian, you're up next.
Thank you. Mary Ellis. Nice to meet you. Similar Mary Ellis, your proclamation. Whereas the Girl Scouts of America help train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future. And whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Girl Scouts of America which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Girl Scouting is the attainment of the Girl Scout Gold Award. And whereas Mary Ellis Lansing from the Girl Scouts of Connecticut Council recently completed the requirements for the Girl Scouts Gold Award. And whereas Mary Ellis Lansing's Gold Award project was to develop an exercise program for people over 65, which she calls Senior Strides. This project was inspired by her grandmother and includes developing a 45-minute chair-assisted workout with exercise bands and rubber balls set to music. Mary Ellis also led in-person classes at 2 assisted living facilities in Farmington and posted 2 different exercise classes online for ages 65 through 84 and 85 plus. And whereas in addition to her work with the Girl Scouts, Mary Ellis Lansing enjoys playing the violin, tennis, squash, volleyball, and participating in her church. Whereas, as a result of Mary Ellis Lansing's work, the lives of senior citizens in the area will be enriched and enhanced by using her Senior Strides program. And now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, I hereby extend to Girl Scout Gold Award recipient Mary Ellis Lansing our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim June 9th, 2022 as Mary Ellis Lansing Day in Farmington. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, the 7th day of June, 2022. C.J. Thomas, Chair.
Brian, don't forget the hat.
I've got her covered.
We need someone else to read the next one now, Brian.
I'm not going to read the whole thing. Mary Ellis, my congratulations. Very well. Well done. Well deserved. Congrats.
Jacob? Nice to meet you, Jacob. Jacob, your proclamation. Whereas the Boy Scouts BSA help train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future. And whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Scouts BSA which benefit our community. And whereas one of the crowning achievements of Scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas Jacob Clark from Troop 68, Scouts BSA, recently completed the requirements for Eagle Scout. And whereas Jacob Clark identified a need for bog bridges in the Farmington Memorial Forest. And whereas Jacob Clark used his Eagle Scout project to create bog bridges that elevate trails across wet areas to make the trails and forest more accessible to visitors to enjoy for years to come. And whereas Jacob Clark's project involved planning, designing, securing permits, and building the bog bridges. The bog bridges will allow hikers to continue to explore nature safely and preserve the ecosystem of the forest. And whereas in addition to his participation in the Scouts BSA, Jacob Clark enjoys climbing, painting, and playing tabletop games. And whereas Jacob Clark attends Wake Technical Community College in North Carolina, where he is studying to become an electrician, and whereas, as a result of Jacob Clark's work, the lives of the public of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced for years to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend Jacob Clark our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim June 10th, 2022 as Jacob Clark Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, the 7th day of June, 2022. C.J. Thomas, Chair.
This is the model of efficiency, Mr. Chair. I'm
We're
impressed.
working on it.
Very good. So Jacob, congratulations to you. So from the state of Connecticut, General Assembly, official citation introduced by Representative D'Amico, Representative Exum, Senator Slapp, Senator Lopes. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Jacob Clark in recognition of your elevation to the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest achievement in scouting. You can be proud of the good work that you've done for your community, which will benefit from your dedication and your perseverance. The personal qualities that have enabled you to reach this goal will serve you well in your future endeavors. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. Given on the 7th day of June 2022 at the State Capitol in Hartford. And once again, it is signed by Martin Looney, President Pro Tem of the State Senate, Matt Ritter, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Denise Merrill, Secretary of the State. Congratulations, Jacob.
Johnny.
Isaiah, and I'm going to ask you to pronounce your name so I don't get it wrong. All right. Congratulations. All right. Isaiah Dellenbard. Proclamation. Whereas the Scouts BSA helped train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well into the future. And whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Scouts BSA which benefit our community. And whereas one of the crowning achievements of scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas Isaiah Dellenbard from Troop 68 Scouts BSA completed the requirements for Eagle Scout. And whereas Isaiah Dellenbard identified a need for 12 raised garden beds to be replaced at the Stanley Whitman House, a circa 1720 National Historic Landmark. And whereas Isaiah Dellenbard used his Eagle Scout project to replace the raised garden beds for the staff at the Stanley Whitman House to continue their educational programs. And whereas Isaiah Dellenbard's project involved working with volunteers at Sanford and Hawley to purchase, measure, and cut the wood for the new garden boxes. Isaiah led over 20 volunteers in replacing the 12 raised beds at the Stanley Whitman House. And whereas Isaiah Dellenbard attends Farmington High School and is a member of the Farmington High School crew team. And whereas, as a result of Isaiah Dellenbard's work, the lives of the public of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced by allowing the Stanley Whitman House staff and volunteers to continue their work to educate the public on our town's history. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend Isaiah Dellenbard our best wishes and hereby proclaim June 11th, 2022 as Isaiah Dellenbard Day in Farmington, Connecticut, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, the 7th day of June 2022, C.J. Thomas Chair.
Don't forget the cap.
Thank you.
I want to mess up your picture there, Donnie.
No, we got the pictures. You're good.
Can we get one with a picture of both of you?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. The next proclamation is for Daniel Deng. Congratulations. A proclamation, whereas the Scouts BSA helped train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well into the future. And whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Scouts BSA which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas Daniel Deng from Troop 68 Scouts BSA completed the requirements for Eagle Scout. And whereas Daniel Deng identified a need for a new trail kiosk at the Red Oak Hill entrance to the Farmington Memorial Town Forest. And whereas Daniel Deng used his Eagle Scout project to replace the kiosk destroyed by a fallen tree to create a new tree trail kiosk and make the trails and forests more accessible to visitors for years to come. And whereas Daniel Deng's project involved cleaning up the site, assessing if any of the parts for the original kiosk could be reused, planning, designing, securing permits, and building the new trail kiosk. And whereas, in addition to Daniel Deng's participation in the Scouts, he also attends Farmington High School and plays the violin and is a member of the Farmington High School Orchestra and participates in robotics club, track and field, and squash. And whereas, as a result of Daniel Deng's work, the lives of the public of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced by hiking and enjoying the beautiful scenery and wildlife of the Farmington Memorial Town Forest. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend Daniel Deng our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim June 12th, 2022 as Daniel Deng Day in Farmington, Connecticut, dated at the Farmington, Connecticut, this 7th day of June 2022, C.J. Thomas, Chair.
Okay, Brian Lindsay is the next proclamation. Very nice to meet you. Okay, without further ado, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the Scouts BSA helps train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Scouts BSA which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Brian Lindsay from Troop 68 Scouts BSA completed the requirements for Eagle Scout, and whereas Brian Lindsay identified a need for a new entrance gate and trail kiosk at Memorial Town Forest, and whereas Brian Lindsay used his Eagle Scout project to create a new entrance gate and trail kiosk to make the trails and forest more accessible to visitors to enjoy for years to come. And whereas Brian Lindsay's project involved planning, designing, securing permits, and building the new entrance gate and trail kiosk. And whereas Brian Lindsay graduated from Farmington High School and attends the University of Pittsburgh, where he is a member of the Pitt Marching Band. While in high school, Brian participated in the swim team, wind ensemble, jazz, and pep bands. He was in the National Honor Society, Tri-M Music Honor Society, and a volunteer at the Farmington Land Trust. And whereas, as a result of Brian Lindsay's work, the lives of the public of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced for years to come. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend to Brian Lindsay our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim June 13th, 2022 as Brian Lindsay Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 7th day of June 2022. C.J. Thomas, Farmington Town Chair. Congratulations. And Mike, if you'd come up to give the state citation.
Oh, yes, the hat, the coveted hat. We can't forget that.
Thank you, Mike.
Congratulations. It's a long wait, but you did it. We did it, never mind. You did it. Oh, there's that. There he is. Good. Great. Congrats, man.
Thanks.
Okay, next we have Andre Rainville. Nice to meet you, Andre. And without further ado, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the Scouts BSA helps train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Scouts BSA which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Andre Rainville from Troop 68 Scouts BSA recently completed the requirements for Eagle Scout, and whereas Andre Rainville identified a need for bog bridges in sections of trails on Mountain Spring Nature Trail and Bushley Farm, and whereas Andre Rainville used his Eagle Scout project to create bog bridges to make the trails and forest more accessible to visitors to enjoy for years to come. And whereas Andre Rainville's project involved planning, designing, permitting, and leading a team to build two 48-foot-long bog bridges. One bridge was built in a muddy section of the Mountain Spring Nature Trail, and the other bridge was built in an area of Bushley Farm that frequently floods. The bog bridges will allow visitors to continue to explore nature safely without destroying the natural habitat of the area. And whereas, in addition to his participation in the Scouts BSA, Andre Rainville serves as an altar server at the Church of St. Patrick, regularly serves meals at the House of Bread, and volunteers at the Connecticut Historical Society. And whereas Andre Rainville attends Northwest Catholic High School in West Hartford, where he is a member of the Student Council, Mock Trial Team, and Future Leaders of America. He received a varsity letter for swimming his freshman year, is a member of the National Honor Society, and is a history fanatic. And whereas, as a result of Andre Rainville's work, the lives of the public of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced for years to come. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend Andre Rainville our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim June 14th, 2022 as Andre Rainville Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, the 7th day of June, 2022. CJ Thomas, Chair of Farmington Town Council. And we won't forget the hat this time. And Mike, if you could come up and give me.
Andre received his citation from the state a couple of weeks ago. So
Oh, wonderful.
You don't get two, Andre.
Just to double check, is Ivan here?
I'm gonna actually be receiving in his stead.
Okay. We'll allow that.
Maybe you do get to.
No, the hat first.
All right. Whereas the Boy Scouts, the Scouts BSA helps train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities in the Scouts BSA which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Scouting is attaining the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Ivan Rainville from Troop 68 Scouts BSA completed the requirements of Eagle Scout, And whereas Ivan used his Eagle Scout project to build a wildlife blind at the winding trails in a recently cleared area. And whereas Ivan Rainville's project involved planning, designing, and leading a team to build a wildlife blind, which allows visitors to observe the nature without disturbing the wildlife or natural habitat. Additionally, Ivan built a bench inside the wildlife blind for observers to sit and watch the wildlife make their homes in the newly cleared area. Whereas Ivan Rainville is a very active volunteer of the House of Bread, Dream Ride, Scouting for Food, and Habitat for Humanity. Whereas Ivan Rainville is a member of the West Hartford and Simsbury Police Cadets, earned his certificate from Goodwin College as a welder, graduated from a heavy equipment academy, and now works as a heavy equipment operator. And whereas as a result of Ivan Rainville's work, the lives and the public of the wildlife in Farmington will be enriched and enhanced for years to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend Ivan our best wishes and hereby proclaim June 15th, 2022 as Ivan Rainville Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, the 7th day of June, 2022, C.J. Thomas, Town Council Chair. All right. Aiden. How are you? Nice to meet you. Whereas the Scouts BSA helps train youth in our community with skills which serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Scouts BSA which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Scouting is attaining the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Aiden Rostowski from Troop 68 Scout BSA completed the requirements of Eagle Scout, and whereas Aiden Rostowski identified a need for a new informational kiosk at Tungus Mead Park, and whereas Aiden Rostowski used his Eagle Scout project to create a new information kiosk to make Tungus Mead Park easier to navigate and enjoy for years to come. Whereas Aiden Rostowski project involved planning, designing, securing permits, and building a new information kiosk. The kiosk provides a central location for the Farmington Recreational Department to post locations of upcoming games, practice schedules, upcoming events, and notification of parks rules and regulations. And whereas Aiden Rostowski graduated from Farmington High School, attended the United States Coast Guard Academy Scholars Program at Georgia Military College, and where he earned his appointment to the United States Coast Guard Academy, receiving the spot as a member of the class of 2026, studying in management. And whereas Aiden Rostowski is a member of the Boy Scouts Honor Society, called Order of the Arrow, where he was a Boy Scout National Youth Leadership attendee. And whereas in addition to his participation in the Scouts, Aiden also volunteers with the House of Bread, Relay for Life, and was involved in sports, including the Farmington High School row team, martial arts. And whereas as a result of Aiden Rostowski's work, the lives of the public of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced for years to come. Now, therefore, be resolved on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend Aiden Rostowski our best wishes and hereby proclaim June 16th as Aiden Rostowski Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated Farmington, Connecticut, the 7th day of June, 2022, C.J. Thomas, Town Council Chair. And your hat. D'Amico has one for you also. Well done. Congratulations.
That way, Mom. Now, I'd just like to make note, I'm fairly certain this is the largest number of Gold Award and Eagle Scouts we have ever had at a single meeting. So what I would really like is all the scouts to come forward and line up right here so we get one big picture of all of you together. And we in the back will be photo bombing. Right here? Just right up here. Just line up right in front of them.
standing or? Stay or sit?
Now, I do have one other request because you were all very serious during the presentation. Smiles would be appreciated. Congratulations to all of you. Now we're continuing on with proclamations. Rafina?
Congratulations to all of our boys and girls. That was clearly an exercise in my childhood dream. I've clearly underachieved. So again, one. Thank you. You're welcome. Take care. We'll let you guys clear out for a couple of minutes.
Okay. If you want, you can start.
Okay. I have the distinct pleasure of reading the proclamation for Pride Month. Whereas the month of June is recognized internationally as Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall riots of June 1969, where people in the LGBTQ+ community in New York City courageously fought back against harassment and discrimination. And whereas the town of Farmington cherishes the value and dignity of each person and understands the importance of equality and freedom, and whereas Farmington denounces prejudice and unfair discrimination based on age, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical disability, and whereas the town of Farmington believes that a diverse population leads to a more vibrant community and appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the LGBTQ+ community. And whereas the town of Farmington believes that every human being has the right to live their life openly as who they are. All are welcome to live in Farmington, to work, to play, and to prosper. Now therefore be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council hereby proclaims June 2022 as LGBTQ+ Pride Month in the town of Farmington, and we call upon our community to recognize the contributions made by the LGBTQ+ community and actively promote the principles of equality, liberty, and justice. Dated the 7th day of June 2022, C.J. Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council. I also have the pleasure of reading a second proclamation for Juneteenth. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring the slaves in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas word about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed some 2.5 years to June 19th, 1865, in reaching authorities and African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States. And whereas on January 31st, 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, abolishing slavery throughout the United States and its territories. And whereas spontaneous celebration erupted throughout the country when African Americans learned of their freedom. And whereas Juneteenth, or June 19th, 1865, is considered the date when the last slaves in America were freed, when General Gordon Granger rode into Galveston, Texas, and issued General Order No. 3, almost 2½ years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas Juneteenth, also known as Juneteenth Independence Day, Emancipation Day, Emancipation Celebration, and Freedom Day, is the oldest African American holiday observed in the United States. And whereas today, Juneteenth commemorates African American freedom and emphasizes education and achievement, it is a day, a week, and in some areas, a month marked with celebrations, guest speakers, picnics, and family gatherings. It is a time for reflection and rejoicing. It is a time for assessment, self-improvement, and planning for the future. Now therefore be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council encourages the people of Farmington to join in celebrating Juneteenth as a day to honor, reflect on the significant role that African Americans have played in the history of the United States. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, the 7th day of June, 2022, C.J. Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council. Thank you.
I can say that right.
This is the proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day, which was last Friday, but since we didn't have a council meeting prior to that, we're reading it now. Whereas the first Friday in June is declared as National Gun Violence Awareness Day, to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. And whereas every day more than 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and are 25 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. And whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton, a teenager who marched in the presidential inaugural parade, was tragically shot and killed just weeks later, should now be celebrating her 25th birthday. And whereas to help honor Hadia and the more than 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 3rd, 2022, the first Friday in June, as the 8th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange, a color chosen because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters in the woods, and orange symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas by wearing orange on June 3rd, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives and lost human potential of Americans stolen by gun violence. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can do to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council declares the first Friday in June, June 3rd, 2022, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and encourages all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Dated, Farmington, Connecticut, this is the 3rd day of June, 2022, C.J. Thomas, Town Council Chair.
And we have our chief of police with us here today. I'm hoping you could come up and say a couple of words. Paul Melanson.
So many of you know, and we were talking about the tragedy of the school shooting that had occurred more recently. And we've been getting a lot of questions, obviously, from parents. I received a lot of emails from parents from the school system who have their kids in the school and wondered what our policy was in the town of Farmington and what our training is. So just really quickly, ever since Columbine, policing has changed and it's evolved ever since then. And so prior to Columbine, our training and our tactics were stand on a perimeter and have a SWAT team come in. Now, obviously, that continually evolved, and to this day now, in any of these situations, whether it be in a school, a mall, a business, the idea is that we have to go in and end it immediately.
So we do not stand by, we do not wait outside our training, and we train not just in Farmington, because we've learned through our calls for service. Some of you may remember HDI in Manchester. There was another shooting in a hospital, New Britain Hospital. And so all of the surrounding officers are trained the same way so that we're on the same page. And we do that, and we train that way so that no matter who shows up, we all know what to do and when to do it. So, you know, obviously, it's a tragedy, and one of the things, we work very closely with the school system on security, very closely. We were one of the first in this state to start practicing run, hide, fight. So we've had very difficult discussions. Obviously, it's not comfortable for anybody to talk about these things, but it is something that's happening, obviously, all too often, and we just need to be prepared and cognizant of that. So I just wanted to, you know, kind of make that mention to you and let people know, because I know there were a lot of people in the community wondering what could have went wrong and what do our police department do. So I just wanted to clarify that for you.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's, I think we've probably all received similar emails and phone calls, and I think it's important that you say exactly what you said. This isn't something that's new to us. Since Columbine, you've been looking into that, and you yourself have been on the forefront within the state of Connecticut and nationally on this issue. So it's been very important to us, and I think you've done a great job kind of bringing us to this point. Rufina.
I was just curious, for some folks who don't know, what's run, hide, fight?
So the Department of Homeland Security put on a video, and it's called Run, Hide, Fight. And basically, it's if you're ever involved in an active shooter type of situation, in other words, you're at a mall, a movie theater, and you hear gunshots, what should you do? The first thing is run to an open area, run outside, get out. Hide, if you cannot escape, then you would hide. You'd find a secure area, quiet, shut your phone off, and hide. And then the last thing would be, if you had no other alternative, to be prepared to fight. So it is nationally accepted, and it's something that we go through with our schools. And I'll tell you, our superintendent and our principals have been, and the school staff, we rolled it out to all of the school, the teachers and the staff. It's a very difficult, surreal conversation to have with them, but it's also one that they understand is relevant in today's day and age. And you have seniors who are going to be going out to college. And so they're going to be put into this world. And so we just want to give them kind of a tool. And you know, the way that we relate it, because we don't want people to live in fear, is that more people die in car crashes every year. But when you get in your car, you put your seatbelt on and you're careful and you drive. But every day you don't think, boy, is this the last day I'm driving to school, right? And so we don't want people to live in fear, but we also want you to have a plan, because nobody expects to be in that situation. But the last thing that you want is somebody to think about that when they're in that situation. So we kind of give them the tools so that when they go out into the world, that they're prepared. So,
Well, my kids know this because our oldest daughter is the same age as the children from Sandy Hook. And I remember just a couple of weeks after that, she was telling me that they had to hide from the bear because that's how they could explain it to the first graders at the time. And all of our kids in school, and I know you guys know this, if you have children in school, they understand what they have to do in a situation, and it's made clear to them. Maybe it's not a person necessarily coming in, although I think most kids, not the very young ones, understand that that's a possibility these days, but it's made like, oh, there's an animal and there's a drill, and they have lockdown drills very, very often. But I'm just curious, though, I know that we've taken some, I'm taking way more time than I should, but I know that we have a lot of parents who contacted me specifically were asking about the ability of somebody coming from the outside to get into the schools. And can you talk a little bit about that, how that set up? Can can a person just walk up to the school and gain entrance?
no.
Okay.
So we went through that. There was a lot of time and effort spent after Sandy Hook. hiring a consultant to come in, but not only that, I was a part of the team that went through all the schools to do safety checks and putting plans and things in place. And it was a shift. It was a shift in thought where it used to be a completely open campus, right? Doors propped open so you can get in and out and all those sorts of things. And that ended. And it was tough to do because it was such an open campus, then to lock the doors and make sure there was only one place of access. And each school now has one point for the public to enter. And there are security guards at that point. So there have been a lot of things taken into account when we did a security review. Spent a lot of time and effort to make sure that our schools were that they were as safe as they could be, but also we're trying not to build prisons, right? I mean, we're not putting barbed wire fence around them and those sorts of things. So it's kind of a balance that we try to have with the schools, and I think they've done a phenomenal job. And obviously the new school, we've had a lot of discussions with the architects and things. So, and the state came out, I was on the statewide committee for school safety that met to come out with these requirements for every school. And our school then implemented a lot of those.
Thank you.
Joe?
Chief, did the police accountability bill, the original one, affect how we would respond to these events?
So I think when I discussed the police accountability bill with the task force, they had asked me in specific what I didn't like about the bill. And when I believe I spoke to the town council, the use of force requirement under the first bill would have required that during an active shooter that basically we wait outside. We could not have put anybody else at harm by using lethal force. And shooting a gun inside of a school with people running everywhere, if we had to address an attacker, there would be no way to do that without putting people at risk, right? Think about them all, people running everywhere. So that was one of the things that I fought very hard against, because I told them that it would change. By law, we could not put other people, so then we would have to basically wait till the person came out. That would have been the net effect of that law. Luckily, we worked over a year ago to change that law and change the wording in it. So it did change. So now it's using a reasonableness account to this so that we could take this into effect. So yes, that original one, that was what I testified, that basically the training would have been to wait until the bad guy basically surrendered or came out, where we wouldn't put other people at risk, because it would have been against the law to do.
But that's not the law currently.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are able to now not wait.
Yeah, and that law never went into effect. It had a date on it. It was supposed to go into effect, I think, in 2021. The bill passed, I want to say, in March of 21. I had a lot of discussions, and we were able to change the bill. And so now this use of force law that was actually passed in 21 will go into effect, I want to say December 31st of this year. So all our officers are being trained on the new use of force laws in the state of Connecticut.
Because I think parents would be very relieved to hear that you wouldn't wait as the other police officers did in Texas.
Right. And that was the problem. And listen, if I had to tell my police officers to wait, I mean, there would have been a revolt, right? And so, but that's what the law said, and they would have been in violation of the law and held accountable and criminally. So it really created a big rift.
Right, but clearly that's not the law.
That is not the law, 100%, absolutely right now, that is not the law.
Anybody
Correct.
emailing me later.
Yes, nope.
Joe?
Any other questions?
No.
Good. Stay there, Chief. Step to the side, Joe. So nice to get to give you orders. So as you may or may not know, our beloved chief is leaving us at the end of this month. He is going to spread his wings over Avon and Grace's presence over there, which is a little bit closer to home. So I just wanted to say a couple words. I want to say thank you for all you have done for our community of Farmington. We have known each other for over 32 years, working alongside you in West Hartford when you were a patrol and I was a patrol officer. And then you came here as my chief. And I had the pleasure of being your subordinate, working for you for the last 8 years of my career. Your career started here in 2009 when we had a bank robber from Bristol come into our town, shooting at police officers, ditching their vehicle where they attempted to escape capture on foot. One suspect who was armed took a hostage in her home, but after several hours, both suspects were captured, vital evidence of the crime was seized, no one was injured, and both suspects were found guilty of their crimes. But you did not grow up here. You had no real connections to our community. But from day one, you gave 120% of yourself. You adopted our community as your own. Over the 13 years, you have been a cop's cop. Not only do you sit behind a desk, you're always on the front lines, responding to calls for service, as simple as they be, for assistance or apprehending dangerous felons in our community. You have been to our state capitol testifying on laws, police training. You have attended every community event possible. You gave your expert advice and training on how to protect our children in our schools, sacrificed hours upon hours from your family to be here for our families. You have built friendships throughout our town with our school superintendent's office, our town manager's office, fire department, and with all the different community groups. And like you said, you never shied away from sitting down, from having those uncomfortable talks about policing in Farmington. You're a friend, a role model, and an inspiration for all of us. I wish you the best of luck, Chief. Can I get my hat?
I think you can get a hat.
You're allowed to have a hat. But we want to see you wearing it on your new job.
On my first day walking in, I will wear
Yes,
this. I promise.
thank you. Paul, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed working with you over the years, and I think we all would agree you've done a great job. So thank you for what you've had at Farmington.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure has been all mine. So I've enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you.
And now we are done with our presentations and recognitions at 7:57. We are moving on to item D, public hearing, having none. New items, E, none there. We now move on to public comment, where we ask the public, if there's anyone who'd like to speak, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and if you can, please keep your comments to 5 minutes. We will be doing in person first, and then we'll go online.
Name and address?
Yes.
Dean Delach, 29 Basswood Road, Farmington.
Thank you.
First of all, excuse me. First of all, thank you to the town council for adopting the proclamation declaring Friday, June 3rd as National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and to encourage all citizens of our town to support local community efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence. And with respect to that, I'm sure many of you are aware that we are fortunate in Connecticut to have an extreme risk protection order, commonly known as ERPO. There are a few locations within our town that have brochures, such as this one, that outline the process for citizens to enact the ERPO provisions. And so my ask of the town council is, obviously this only works if people are aware of it and how they can enact it. As I said, we have these in the two town libraries, the police department, and one other place I'm forgetting where it is.
Community center, possibly?
It's not in the senior center or the town hall. Here. So my ask is, what can we, and you in particular as the town council, do to make people more aware of this provision? Some things that come to mind are putting something on the website, the town website about it, finding other places within town to put the brochures, or including it in a future email or newsletter that you guys put out. So that's my ask, and again, thank you for your consideration and for taking the steps that you've already taken and will continue to take to increase awareness of gun violence and how we can protect lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment here in person?
How you doing? Greg Luter, 63 Main Street, Unionville. I used to be pretty involved as a citizen here in this town, and probably want to get back to getting a little active. Obviously, there's not many people here, and that gets to the point what I want to speak about, which is our citizens that vote. You know, and I've noticed, like, I looked at the town annual report, I guess, and you know, you can look at the percentages of the people that came out to vote, and usually it's less than 10% of our qualified voters in this town. So I think we need to address some way of getting more people to come out and vote. And if you notice, probably around, I think it says around 75 or closer to 80% of people come out and vote when there's a presidential election, which really doesn't affect our community, you know? So I think we need to look at different ways to have our citizens come out and vote, whichever way they vote. But if, you know, I feel sad as a citizen here when I see like maybe 7-8% of the elected, of the people that are able to vote. And then obviously with the town charter too, you know, it's stated in there that you have to have a minimum of 15% of the people to come out and vote to, you know, about the budget. Obviously, you know, it passed because less than 15% of people came out and voted, so it doesn't really matter at that point. So I don't know, I think we should try to get more people to come out and vote, and maybe revisit the town charter, that line of 15% or more. Because if it's the majority, if it's only like 7-8% of people come out and that's the majority, well, you should go with the majority then. Because to me, it's kind of sad that a very small percentage of the voters vote, especially on a very important thing like the town budget. That's all. So I think we should try to revisit that.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public in person who would like to speak? Seeing none. Kat, do we have anyone online?
There are no hands raised online.
No hands raised online. Last call. Still no hands. Okay, we will now close public comment. Move to item G, reading of the minutes.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of the May 10th regular town council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Item H, reading of communications and written appeals. Do we have any?
No.
No written appeals or communications. We will now move to item I, report of the committees, 1928 Building Committee.
Yes. So we had a tour with the committee of the proposed area that we're looking to save. We went from the roof all the way down into the basement, showed everybody where mechanics lied, the layout of the building, where additions have come, walls would need to be replaced, things like that. And so we all sat down at our next meeting and we came up with an RFQ to have an architect come out and start giving us numbers and looking at the process in order to what it would take to encapsulate that one section of the 1928 building. And we believe our next meeting is June 27th.
Great. Farmington High School Building Committee.
Yes, at the last meeting, we approved the structural pre-detailing, which allows us to try to get ahead of the schedule with all of the things going on with availability of product, et cetera. On June 2nd, we had a meeting at the meeting room at the Farmington Police Department. Had a few members of the public attend where we gave a presentation overall of the high school and where we're at this point. Our next meeting is tomorrow in the FHS library at 5 o'clock.
Great, thank you.
And you can also get any information you want at fhsbuildingproject.com. Sorry.
Check your websites, very
There you
good. Green Efforts Committee.
Nothing to report.
Okay, Land Acquisition Committee.
Nothing to report.
Racial Equity Task Force.
Yes. Task Force met on May 31st. Reverend Susan Gibson of the First Church of Christ in Farmington was our guest at the meeting to discuss initiatives and opportunities for partnership. On June 6th, which was yesterday, the task force in the Farmington Libraries held a community forum for equity, diversion, and inclusion. It was facilitated by Dr. Martha Brecken-Harris and Trita Collier-Dickman. The next community conversation is going to be scheduled for September when school is back in session. The topic will be Tell Me the Truth, Exploring the Heart of Cross-Racial Conversation with Shay Stewart-Boulier and Debbie Irving. First Church of Christ has offered to host the event. The task force also plans on participating in the Juneteenth event at the Hillstead Museum, which will be on June 25th, 2022. What hours?
10 to 4.
10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This will be an excellent opportunity of the task force members to meet and visit the community members. This will be an outdoor community event with visual art, food, music, and family fun activities. Our next meeting is July 25th, 6:30 over Zoom.
Great, thank you. We will now move on to item J, reports of the council chair and liaisons. We start with the chair. This is a busy month. In addition to LGBT plus Pride Month, it is also Gun Violence Awareness Month. I will make note that this Friday, St. James Church and the First Church of Christ will be holding a vigil in honor of all those who have died at the hands of gun violence. That is Friday on the Meeting House Green, which is 75 Main Street at 7 p.m. Not to be outdone, we had a lot of Eagle Scouts from Troop 78. BSA Troop 170 will be 60 years old. We're reading a proclamation at the Lions Club June 13th for them at their Court of Honor. The Farmington Historic Society will be having a Juneteenth celebration on Saturday the 18th from 3 to 5 called Oh Freedom, which will have storytelling, folklore, and songs. At the Hillstead, their From the Porch series will begin June 11th. That will be a multicultural choir that evening. Go to their website for more details on future events. Also, they will be celebrating Juneteenth on June 25th from 10 to 4. Admission is free, but registration is requested. Tomorrow morning, the Economic Development Commission is have their first in-person breakfast meeting of recently, I guess this month. And that will be held at the Farmington Club. For those of you who remember what it used to be called, I believe it is now called the Polo Grounds Event Center. So don't be surprised by the new sign out front. Also, for the Polo Grounds, they are open for the season. Their first match is Saturday, 3 p.m. Gates open. The games start at 5 o'clock. They also, on June 26th, will have Cars and Coffee. So a lot of events going on. For anything else going on in town, just go on to the Explore Farmington Facebook or webpage, and you can get details on these and many other activities throughout our town through the month of June. Moving on to conservation and inland wetlands.
Inland Wetlands had a public, I don't know if anybody can hear me. Inland Wetlands had a public hearing on May 18th regarding the Carrier Group's proposed 25-lot cluster subdivision on Morea Road. Wetland analysis, site plan, and drainage details were shared, and members of the community expressed their concerns. Among new business, the community voted unanimously to approve the Turf Guys application to install a septic system for a new home on Plainville Avenue, and also to approve the construction of a single-family home at 17 Burlington Road.
Great. Board of Education liaison.
Me too. So the Board of Ed had their end-of-year meeting last night. They honored the valedictorian, salutatorian, and scholar athlete, among others. The board also recognized our departing chief, Melanson, and recognized Matt Ross, who received the 2022 Outstanding Leader Award by the Connecticut Education Network. The board is preparing for the summer, and they're getting close to pre-pandemic levels for summer school, after school, and continuing education programming. The Board of Ed was also happy to extend the superintendent's contract. not conduct, contract. In the previous meeting in May, the board also received a report on redistricting. As some of us may know with kids, some of the schools have a few more students than others. They're forming an ad hoc committee to study the recommendations of the report. Lastly, some of you also know June 14th is graduation day, and there are a lot of slots for project graduation. If you don't have kids in the Farmington school system, project graduation is a fantastic night. A lot of parents, all the parents volunteer. There's food, there's music, there are games that parents go, and man, Joe Capitafero and I worked at last year. If you are interested in volunteering, please help out. You can also donate prizes. We should all pay it forward by volunteering. The kids love it, and it's substance and alcohol free. The address to contact is 22PG for project graduation, volunteer@gmail.com, and they could really, really use some volunteers. Thank you.
Rafina, I'm just going to tag along with that because it is a great event. I've volunteered many years. They prefer to have people who don't have seniors. Oddly enough, the seniors that are there don't want their parents at that event. So anyone who has younger students, older students, please volunteer. It's a great night, as Rafina said. If you're really energetic, take that night shift. What time is the last? Do you know what time it closes? Something like 3 in the morning.
It's 2:30. So you can go all night if you want, or you could do the first shift or the second shift. And usually, people don't want to go for that second shift. However, just seeing the smiles on these kids' faces, they're graduated, they're done. Don't make their parents work that night too. So if you have it just like a couple of hours in you, just please volunteer.
Thanks, Rafina. The Bicycle and Trails Advisory Committee is meeting tomorrow night. We're still looking forward to putting up our Wayfinder signs on the trails. That's our biggest initiative at this point. Economic Development Commission.
Yes, the May Economic Development Commission meeting was canceled, but the commission has been busy with various events. A couple of our commission members attended the Life Science Breakfast, talking about life science and biotechnology companies. We were also present for the Central Connecticut Chamber of Commerce annual dinner, and we were very excited to see our Farmington's very own Hillstead Museum receiving the Outstanding Community Business Award. As CJ said, tomorrow is the EDC's hosting their breakfast, starting at 7:45 a.m., and the keynote speaker is Mark Boughton, and Mark was named Senior Advisor for Infrastructure in December 2021 to Governor Lamont. He coordinates a multi-agency approach to administering funds from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And in his keynote speech, he will answer questions such as how will the $5.38 billion in federal funding be distributed, and how will this improve the Connecticut economy? And the next EDC meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, June 8th at 5:30 p.m.
Great, thanks, Ed. Farmington Historic District Commission.
Thank you. Just quickly, there were a number of applications that were vetted and approved at our last meeting. They were brought forward by both residents and by Ms. Porters, and all of them were designed to maintain or enhance the look and feel of the historic district, and I think they're doing a great job for our community. So go out and enjoy the historic district.
Great. Housing Authority.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Human Relations Commission.
Okay. At the last meeting, Commissioner Andrew Arbo spoke about his program Driving with Autism. David Grant of Lavender Policy Center and LGBTQ advocate presented about their work and would like to collaborate with the Human Resources Council in the future. They also appointed subcommittees to develop this year's program for National Disability Voter Registration Week in September, and also assisting Rev Up CT with producing short educational videos regarding disability rights. They also appointed a subcommittee to partner with the library and Farmington High School regarding the Rainbow Crosswalk for Pride Month. And their next meeting is July 25th, and representatives from CHRO will talk to them about future collaboration.
Great. Library Board.
Library Board met 5/18, nothing to report.
TPZ.
TPZ met a couple times last night and on May 23rd. Some highlights I pulled out. Irving A. Robbins had a site plan approval for an 1,800 square foot extension to the cafeteria. Trump got a site plan approval for a 45,000 square foot addition. And TPZ and town staff are currently working on changing the regulation to allow all residents as a right to raise up to 6 hens, as opposed to needing a special permit right now.
Wow.
Big hen talk at TPZ.
Good to know. Unionville Historic District Commission.
Yes, the Unionville Historic District Commission met on June 2nd. The commission is continuing to review language in the Historic District Guidelines for amendments which will be made at a future meeting. And their next meeting is scheduled for July 7th at 7 p.m.
Great. UVIA.
UVIA, nothing new to report.
WPCA.
Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock is their meeting, and nothing else to report.
Great. Are there any other liaisons or reports? Seeing none. We will move on to item K, the much-anticipated report of the town manager.
You have the written report in front of you. The first item is coffee with the council. So that's going to be this Saturday at Starbucks, and you can see the flyer that we attached to it. So if any of the council members are interested in attending, please let us know. I know some of you have reached out. Once we get everyone that wants to participate, we'll give you time slots for that. Personnel update is 2 things. One is that I'm pleased to announce that Colin Ryan will be appointed Chief of Police, replacing Paul Melanson. Colin Ryan has served the town of Farmington since 1999. He started his career as a police officer and has taken on progressively responsible positions over the past 23 years. Most recently, he has held the rank of captain, which is second in command since December 2017. A public reception is being planned for June 29th, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the Farmington Police Station, located at 319 New Britain Avenue, Unionville. All residents and employees are invited to attend and welcome the new chief. The Director of Fire and Rescue Services, I'm pleased to announce that after an extensive recruitment process, the town of Farmington has hired a new Director of Fire and Rescue Services, Thomas Fitzgerald. Thomas Fitzgerald has 23 years of experience in the New Haven Fire Department, beginning as a firefighter and working up the rank as captain. Additionally, Mr. Fitzgerald has served as a commissioner of the Newtown Volunteer Fire Department for the past 3 years. Mr. Fitzgerald holds a bachelor's degree in history and criminal justice from Marist College and a master's degree in public administration. I think he's going to be a great fit. Both Captain Ryan and Mr. Fitzgerald will attend the next town council meeting on June 12, 2022, to be formally introduced to the town council. Number 3, the Health District update. The Farmington Valley Health District has requested that the 10 district communities consider supporting the Farmington Valley Health District with a portion of each member's town's ARPA funding. As a regional health department, the Farmington Valley Health District is not eligible to receive ARPA funds directly. Farmington Health District functions as the town department and took the lead with the town's COVID response. They've done an exceptional job and are an asset to the town of Farmington. They requested expenditures will support the health district's ongoing critical public health response. These public health efforts include vaccine campaigns, providing resources to address the growing mental health challenges, modernization of information technology, and workforce development. They've requested $108,860 from the town of Farmington, which is our proportional share. The other health district towns are in support of funding this request from the health district with their individual town ARPA funds. The total contribution to the member towns is $448,544. And if there's consensus from the town council, I would include an action item on the July town council meeting agenda. And lastly, Pride Month update, and we've mentioned it. As you know, June is Pride Month, and I'm pleased to report that the Human Relations Commission had been working to recognize Pride Month this year with the help of Farmington High School students, and I think middle school students and other volunteers. The sidewalk coming into Monteith Drive will be painted, and it has been painted, the colors of the Pride flag. That way students see it when they come to school, and residents will be able to see it when they come to the town hall and library. I don't know if you have any questions.
Questions for the town manager? Had a lot in there.
No. Do we have consensus about the health district?
Okay, any questions about the health district and the funds for the health district?
And so I guess my only question is, and I think you wrote this, all the other towns have committed at this point, or?
I think like 95%, I think they're all planning on committing to it, but it's my understanding that they're all going to commit to it.
Great.
Yeah.
And sorry if I missed this in your thing. The 448,000 and change number for all the towns. Where's that's money that they spent on COVID-related stuff? Or?
No, that's what they're requesting. That's the amount, and they have a list of projects to do different community health. And we are one of the biggest towns in the health district, so our proportional share is about $108,000.
Other questions? Yeah, and just so you know, I mean, this has been an ongoing, the health district, as Kathy mentioned, really performed so much more these past 2+ years than they have ever needed to or ever been required to. And each year they point out that they were underfunded before COVID. So they're looking for the support from the different communities, and we're almost 25% of the entire group, 20% or so as a per capita basis. So this would be our share. It would be my hope that we could support the health district. They've done a tremendous job. Hopefully sometime in the near future they can dial back on some of what they've been doing and it won't be so COVID related. But I think it's a great idea. So if anyone has any other questions on that? If not, can we get to consensus? Just give me an aye if you're...
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. All right, you have consensus. And you have completed the town manager's report. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the town manager's report.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the town manager's report? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on to appointments.
Yes. Agenda item L2, I make a motion that Kathy Blonsky be appointed to the Greater Hartford Transit District for a 4-year term beginning July 1st, 2022, ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Nope, I've just been a member of that group for quite some time.
Okay, well, there's a great description of it. We have a motion and a second. Any questions for anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next.
And agenda item L7, I make a motion that Andrew Arbo be appointed to the Human Relations Commission for a 2-year term beginning July 1st, 2022, ending June 30th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item L9, that Ann Newberry be appointed to the Human Relations Commissions for a 2-year term beginning July 1, 2022, ending June 30th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item L10, that Kayla Zimmerman be appointed to the Human Relations Commission for a 2-year term beginning July 1st, 2022, ending June 30th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
And my last motion for agenda item L19, that Christian Hoa be appointed Justice of the Peace for the balance of a 4-year term beginning immediately and ending January 6, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Other nominations?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion, L6, for Jay Tulin to be appointed to the Human Resources Council or Commission. Jay is currently the chair of the HRC. He's served on Inland Wetlands Commission before, and he served in a number of other elected and appointed roles in another town, Middletown, and in Berlin before moving here to Farmington. And as you know, not tonight, but he's usually very well represented at these meetings. He's probably following along right now. So a motion for Jay Tulin to be appointed as chair of HRC.
Not for chair. This is just for his membership on the HRC. And I'll, if I could, and I had a conversation with Jay. The appointment would be for a term beginning July 1st, 2022, ending June 30th, 2023, not 2024. We had a problem with the terms and when they ended. We have 2 coming up next year out of a 7-member board. It should be 3. So the intention is next year we'll reappoint Jay for a 2-year term next year. But right now this would be to appoint to the Human Relations Commission for a 2-year term beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I guess that was the further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for L14 and L15 for reappointments to the Retirement Board.
Okay, one at a time, though, please.
Okay, L14 for Rob Hewlin. Rob is an attorney with a background in commercial, retail, trademark, and construction law. He's lived in town for many years and have children who have attended Farmington Public Schools. He's also a former town councilor, former member of the library board, and has served on the retirement board since 2008. Rob says he would appreciate the chance to serve, and he's looking forward to 2 more years of good returns.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
I'd like to make a motion, L15, for Dave Litkowski to be reappointed to the Retirement Board. Dave Litkowski is an architect. He and his family have lived in Farmington for 26 years. Dave has been an active volunteer and participant in town life and currently serves on the Retirement Board and the Exchange Club. He's also served on the Porter Memorial and Amistad Hall renovation committees and First Church's Council of Deacons.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Nay.
I'd like to poll the office.
I'm in favor.
Aye. In favor?
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, the motion fails. Next. Any other appointments? Okay, seeing none.
Agenda item N1. I make a motion to approve the following town council meeting schedule for 2023 and set the dates of the annual town meeting.
Second.
A motion and a second. Kathy?
It's hard to believe that we have to set more dates for the budget and the meeting schedule, but this is our yearly schedule that we approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? I'll just ask the question, is there any reason we can't move February 14th to February 7th? Being that it's Valentine's Day. Just asking.
We
Big
could.
plans, CJ, big plans.
Is that the one where we have our state delegation come, or is that a different date?
That first one, or is that,
We usually do it in February. Why don't we approve this, and then at the next meeting,
Okay.
I'll check the date, and if we can, we'll change the date. So let me just make sure the date works for us.
okay, good call.
All right.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N2. Make a motion to award bid number 311, exterior painting of the stone house to VASE Management LLC of New Haven, Connecticut for the total contract price of $68,809.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
This bid is to contract with a vendor to paint the wood sections of the stone house located at 7 Westwoods Drive. That's the golf course property. The work also includes replacing where required the existing shingles that are curled and rotted. Town staff solicited bids during the winter for this work. One bid was received by the bid submission deadline. Staffs reviewed the bidder's reference and found them to be satisfactory.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N3. I make a motion to award bid number 317, tree removal and pruning service to Distinctive Gardens and Tree Care of South Windsor, Connecticut, in accordance with the schedule of costs as listed on the attached spreadsheet.
Second.
This-
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
This bid is to contract with a qualified vendor to provide tree removal and pruning services for trees on town-owned property in the right-of-ways. The town directs the vendor to which trees need to be removed and pruned and monitors the vendor's performance. This group has provided these services to the town for the past 16 years. Staff has found their performance to be very good. The contract would be for a period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, with the option to renew for 1 additional year depending on satisfactory performance.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N4. Make a motion to extend the contract between the town of Farmington and Waste Material Trucking Company of Farmington, Connecticut to provide the curbside collection of municipal solid waste, recyclables, and bulky waste for a 3-year period beginning July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. Authorize the town manager to sign the contract extension with WMTC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy, you're in a hurry tonight.
I know it. The town has contracted with Waste Material Trucking to provide residential curbside municipal solid waste and recyclables since 1993. In 2019, the town council agreed to extend the contract through June 30th, 2024. Waste materials representatives have recently requested that the contract be extended for an additional 3 years so that they have a 5-year contractual commitment with the town. The reason for this request is to extend the contract for a longer period of time is that WMTC needs to replace the trucks they use for collection of trash and recyclables, but cannot obtain financing for the acquisitions without a long-term commitment in place for the town. In the note, I show the rates, and we've reviewed the extension and feel that this is we should be renewing them.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N5, make a motion to ratify the tentative collective bargaining agreement between the town of Farmington and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3103, for the period July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
This would be a 3-year contract with our 9 career firefighters. There's some various language and procedural changes with no net cost in effect, but are favorable to the town's needs. There's been increases in health insurance and co-pays. The wage adjustments would be 3% for the first year, 2.75% and 2.75%, and a slight increase in the uniform allowance. Our 9 career firefighters serve and sacrifice for our community daily, often going beyond the call of duty. They have adapted to the new COVID-19 requirements without missing a beat. I am proud of the work they've done and continue to do on behalf of the town. I believe the changes made in this contract will help us retain and recruit our qualified firefighters, and I recommend that the town council ratify the negotiated changes, which I believe are both fair to the town and the 9 career firefighters.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N6, make a motion to approve the following property tax refunds as listed below.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You can see the sheet right there. Nothing out of the ordinary. Any questions or comments?
Excuse me.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on to item O, we have no executive session. Before we move on to asking for a move to adjourn, in light of all the Gold Star and the Eagle Scout recipients, I will leave you with a quote from Kurt Vonnegut. What should young people do with their lives today? Many things, obviously, but the most daring is to create stable communities in which the terrible disease of loneliness can be cured. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the June 7th, 2022 regular town council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.